He's got the whole world in his hands. He's got the whole wide world in his hands. He's got the whole world in his hands. He's got the whole world in his hands.
Welcome back to another episode of the Ministry of Truth. I am your number one host on the show because mainly I am the only host on this show. Gonna go over some Disney and DEI stuff that I was looking in yesterday. When hiring practices are blatantly racist, and you have personnel within the company admitting that they're hiring based by race and gender ideology and all that shit. And Disney is a company that's owns more than one company, such as ABC and ESPN. I'll go over that in a minute. Good morning, Sammy Joe. But before we get to the show, we got to wake up. How do you wake up? Well, let's ask George. So, what do you want to talk about? Me up before you go. See? Even I have those kind of shorts, but mine are... What? I used to wear shorts like that for PT. When you're in a certain, unit, you get used to wearing shorts like that because you get this level of confidence. Mainly because Rangers are a bunch of arrogant motherfuckers who like to blow shit up and fight. And we have Rangerettes. Rangerettes are the shit. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls and children. Oh, not yet. We're not getting to Disney yet.
Have you heard about
what I want to get into is TikTok deleted a video for hate speech or violence or discrimination. Tulsi Gabbard's going to explain this video for you. If you guys don't know who Tulsi Gabbard is, she used to be a Democratic darling until she actually, started talking like an actual American. She is a combat veteran, which is good. She's still serving as a major or a lieutenant colonel. But hopefully, we'll find out who the vice president is going to be for Donald Trump tomorrow, is what he said. And hopefully she's on that very, very short list, because I would not mind, because she's very smart and military minded. So before let's get into what she's got to say. Oh, you want to see the shorts? Because I don't care. Look. Oh, cam slip. Sorry, guys. I was check out my socks. Huh? Oh, too bad the chat's in the way. Is that better, Sammy Joe? Anyway, back to the story.
This latest video that TikTok banned because they found it to be too controversial, too filled with hate, and too offensive. Well, if you haven't seen it yet, here it is.
Those are my running shorts.
Yourself.
You guys remember the
pictures? If you think girls and women's equality matter, stand up. If girls and women's sports matter, and you want your daughters to have the same opportunity you had, stand up. If you know that it isn't fair or safe to allow males to compete in girls' sports because it's, obvious, stand up. Don't be cowed by people who call you a bigot. You're not a bigot. Don't let men tell us how to be good girls. Don't let others tell you you just need to be quiet. Sit down. Be nice. It's not nice to further a lie.
So, if you're listening, this is very feminist, not like necessarily a super feminist like some of the fuckers we have today, but it's teaching women that, hey, you're equal. There's no need to put men in your sports. because you're strong and equal and, well, you need to stand up and be for yourself. But the left and TikTok don't like this video. Why? Are women supposed to be subservient? Are women supposed to sit down and shut up? Isn't that what they're against?
It's not mean to believe in women's
What's up, Tanya?
equality. We deserve our own sports, privacy, fairness, safety. We deserve a chance to compete and win. So don't be nice. Don't be careful. Be honest. Be brave. Fight for women. We've come too far to give up now. And if you agree with that, stand up and stand with us.
All right, guys. I support this 100%. Women should only be in women's sports. Men should be in men's sports. If you think you're a woman, that sucks for you. I'm not going to affirm your fucking mental illness. Because you want to be the best, but you got to cheat to be the best. But anyway, that's just my view on that. Let's continue with the next story. This one, I believe, yes. So this is a Trump rally in Philadelphia. It's going to show you like 2 or 3 different sides of the type of people at these rallies. The Trump supporters, there's even an AOC supporter for president. Like, that's never going to fucking happen. And then you got a bunch of Biden supporters. I didn't make this. I found this, and I thought it was interesting. I think it's Benny Johnson. I can't remember.
Really quick, tell me why, as a Latino,
No,
and
keep in
your
mind,
friends are Latino.
a lot of these Trump supporters, obviously you'll see, are white. But then you're going to see there's a huge mixture of Hispanics and even a few black men. So tell me how these guys are all white supremacists. Okay. I guess that makes me a white supremacist because I'm brown.
Why you guys support Trump?
Because our ideas align, and because this is my university. It's up university. I'm a student. So.
And so you think it's not crazy as a Latino to support Trump?
No, because I don't want to be called Latinx. I'm a Latino with an O. My mom is a Latina. We're not Latinx.
Bro, I like this when I first saw it. I'm a Latino. My mother's a Latina. We're not fucking Latinx.
You know what I mean? So that's one of the reasons.
All right. So what does it mean to have President Trump come visit Philly today?
It means a lot because technically this is a very blue city, so he's here to want to represent strong ideals and align with what I believe in.
Y'all hear that?
So what would you say to, like Democrats who would say you're crazy to support Trump as a Latino?
I would just say I'm right. I have a brain. Like,
What's up, Annoyed?
He actually cares about us, and he cares about people coming in a safe way, not us having our community be lost on the border. He actually cares about people coming in and saying. He also, as my buddy said,
Hi, guys.
Latino with an O. My mother is Latina. All the women in my family are Latinas. I'm tired of being called Latinx anytime I'm in a public space in Philadelphia or across America.
And as a black person, I feel like it's important to know the history of what the Democratic Party has done to black Americans. If you look at
Oh, Eloy's here. Eloy. Acknowledge me.
they're the party of slavery, Ku Klux Klan. With the liberal revolution in 1960s, the Great Society, that broke up black families, and that still has a detrimental effect on black communities today. The absence of fathers in the black community is perhaps one of the worst things in the modern era, at least, that has happened to black people. And if you just look at all the policies that Democrats are for, it just goes to show how against black people.
Notice the demeanor of people.
Black people they are, right?
Yeah, I'm right.
And so then last question, what would your response to President Biden be when he says if you vote for Trump, you don't vote for him, you're not black?
The amount of... let me pause
just
that.
something that...
Notice the crowd and how, non-energetic they are as far as what's going on outside this convention. And then we're going to see a difference in a minute.
Racist bigot would say.
Feels good though to save you.
This is Philly, guys. Oh, Bobby Joe.
So this crowd, the front of it has been waiting since 11 a.m. and it is now almost 3:15.
Damn.
So call that 4 hours, 15 minutes. The front of this crowd has been waiting.
I mean, I waited that long. Just 5 minutes. Dude, stop cutting the line. All right, here we go. So this is another participant in this Trump rally. Now, by participant, I don't necessarily mean she was part of the rally. She may have been a troll or somebody that likes to go out there and agitate for the camera.
It's totally on camera. Officers, that large man in the black shirt just threw something at me. That guy walking away just threw something at me. It's on camera. Are you gonna stop him?
No?
The guy just threw something at me. Is that not assault?
I just knocked him out.
I'm not a Biden supporter, dumbass. AOC for president. I'm not a Biden supporter.
You're
That's all
an
you
idiot,
guys
too.
have. Literally, that's all you have. Literally it. AOC for president. You're gonna fall down if you don't drink some water.
Oh,
Huh?
water, guys.
Are you okay? No? Okay. Just because you're in a cult, bro.
No has their back. Wait, Trump wants to put no taxes on dip? No, that's great. Let me give him the. Hey, come here. Fuck you! Joe and the hoe have got to go! Joe and the hoe have got to go!
You with the hat! You
Me?
sold your soul!
Hat?
$400!
Oh, and they're applying, and this is weird because the left and the media have been portraying this, that Donald Trump has been paying people to attend his rallies. Donald Trump's broke, like you said. How is he paying to have people go to his rallies? And if he's paying people to go to these rallies, where are all big donations coming from? I mean, not really big. They have a lot of little donations that added up to 34 million, if you remember.
$100 you for sale! You a cornball! You's a dickhead! You's a cornball!
Haven't heard cornball in a while.
You a cornball! You better stay over there! Walk over here!
So, as a cornball, is it like a cornball that's like stuck together and still kernels? Or is it like popcorn, so you can like pick pieces off and eat it?
Beat you home! Go ahead and cash that check! Bad news gonna beat you home! Go ahead and cash that check!
Yo, if they got checks to go to that rally, wouldn't you guys have like been, let me get in on that? It's free money.
Lock him up! Lock him up!
You're in public domain, right? Absolutely. This is ultra mega.
So if you're for your cause, why are you gonna cover your face? Be proud of what you're fighting for. I don't understand what you're doing the middle finger in the back.
So one of Trump's biggest platforms, one of the things that he really likes to highlight is the issue of immigration. And obviously that's been a big topic for not just the border states, but for the entire country.
Money's money, right?
What's your response to a recent poll from CBS showing that over 60% support Trump's plan to deport all illegal immigrants. How does that play out here in a city like
Listen
Philadelphia?
up. It's a true stat. 60% of voters want Trump's plan on illegal immigration. 60%. That's probably plus or minus 5%. But listen to this guy. Look, you already know he's going to say something stupid.
Philadelphia is a very diverse city. Who is this guy? Philadelphia being a union city, everyone has an opportunity. So that 60% that's talking about they want everyone to be gone. All these big, beautiful buildings being built by immigrants. We all are immigrants anyway.
Okay, I want you to pay attention to what he said. All the buildings that are being built are built by immigrants. Now, Mr. Progressive, legal or illegal? That's the big difference. Trump wants to get rid of the illegals. You know, people that showed up here during the last 4 years, free, all willy-nilly to go fucking rape, kill kids, dismember people so they can live in their fucking house, murder people in the streets. Is that what you want? Is that what you want? I mean, that sounds like a perfect utopia for a progressive.
So imagine a country without people being able to have an opportunity to come here and become a citizen. That's what it would look like. Nothing would get done.
And, a lot has been made about, Trump had that rally up in the Bronx. Obviously, he's having here in Philadelphia. Do you think he's making any inroads with the black and brown communities?
No. The people that are siding with him, they're doing it for a check. They're doing it for a paycheck. They're doing it to get some notoriety. They're trying to test themselves to the popularity contest that they run.
So they assume that everybody that wants to support Trump is getting paid. I haven't gotten a check. And I just recently started supporting him. Well, like, fully. Now he has my full endorsement. Well, yeah, I did have illegals fixing my roof after the tornado. But I hired a company that had a white representative, so I didn't know until they showed up. And only one of them spoke English, and it was broken English. So I'm trying to speak English, Tagalog, and Spanish all in one. And it wasn't working. We just ended up having to point at each other and just point at something.
No, that's not correct. So that's what it is. It becomes a popularity contest.
And I still paid like 11 grand to fix my roof.
Standing next to you. It becomes about money. It becomes economics.
Test that he's their God. But what the hell did he do? He proved that he don't give a plumb nickel about our government.
Nickel?
He proved he don't give a plumb nickel about the way our government is ran. He sent people onto the office, onto the building where he would held office at. It don't matter, bro. Hey, somebody
That's what you're saying.
Check, but I want to know if you can cash it. Can you cash that check?
And it's funny they're saying that because the leftist media has been saying that about Trump rallies, that you're basically there because he's paying you to be there. Almost like Americans aren't supposed to think for themselves. You're not supposed to have free will. You need to follow what the system tells you. And the purpose of this later on is to show you that the system is failing because we're too afraid to offend people. We want diversity when we already have diversity. But I digress.
I say dump Trump.
I'm on the page.
Motherfuckers are literally trying to approach the motor.
You told me to
Notice
fucking pay
against my law. Yeah, Trump in prison. Have Trump's mugshot. See? It's nice. Look. There, look at his mugshot. Look at his mugshot. National anthem.
No KKK, no fascist.
Oh, look at that. That's the racist flag. Apparently I'm a racist.
KKK, no fascist USA.
We are not prepared. Yeah, times have changed. We passed the laws. We're not failing it. I wanted to show it to you later on that Facebook. There, look at this bit. This is gross. I mean, no offense if you guys like this, but she's dressed like it's fucking laundry day, and that's all she had left. The Trump equals the new Jim Crow. Does she even know what the fuck that means? Or is she just handed a sign as she walks up? Yeah, Harvey had almost. Hey, Nick. How are you? Oh, speaking of lies, you guys know that Snopes came out and said, hey, Donald Trump never said neo-Nazis were good people. When for almost 7 years, 8 years, the media has told you that he said that they are great people. Fact checkers proven wrong. I mean, super late, but it's done. Alright, so the next couple videos we're going to go over, like I said, I want to talk about Disney and its corruption and hiring processes. Because not mainly for me, but a lot of my viewers are typically going to be affected if they try to get working at Disney. And you're going to see why. And before we get on that, I want to let y'all know Disney owns a lot of fucking companies. And it worries me because look at these companies and they're pushing their agenda. So you've got ABC. Every people watch ABC, especially when it comes time for football. ESPN, they own 80% of ESPN. Why does Disney own a sports network? Ever notice that a lot of the ESPN analysts, check them out. Touchstone Pictures. Oh, another way to spread propaganda. They own Marvel, and we've already known how woke they made Marvel. Lucasfilms. Do I need to say more? A&E. A&E. A documentary/information channel? Oh, weird. Almost like they can rewrite history. The same with History Channel. If you're watching a History Channel, oh, that must be right. Right? It's summer, though, isn't it? I'm sorry. Back to Lifetime. I only know one certain demographic that watches Lifetime. So, I mean, that's a good demographic for liberal voters. Pixar. Kids movies. Hollywood Records. Vice Media. And Core Publishing. Core Publishing isn't really that big. It's just a fucking group that publishes hard copy books. And it's just weird because you look at all this. Star Wars, Muppets, Cinematic Universe. All this stuff is what people watch. Look at that. Grey's Anatomy. You look at these are supposed to be, family-friendly shows. But the company that owns them isn't very friendly when it comes to diversity. Just want y'all to know that. Take it as you want, but that's the way I saw that when I started looking it up yesterday. So this guy, he's a senior vice president. I watch Forgotten History a lot, Eloy. It's actually one of my subscribed channels. But yeah. So this guy talks about the hiring, and it's sad because, well, if you're white, then you're pretty much fucked if you want to work for Disney. Even though this guy kind of looks white. But he's Italian, guys. He's Italian. Okay.
There have been times where, there's no way we're hiring a white male person.
Just kind of unspoken.
There are times when it's spoken, but
how would they say it?
There's no way we're hiring a white male in this role. They say
Like straight to you?
Yeah,
Or,
got it
okay.
too.
they'd be very careful how they message that to agents.
According to these videotapes, Disney blatantly discriminates against white men.
Yeah, check out my
in
socks,
particular.
guys.
I think I'm sort of like well prepared for it. I'm well positioned for it. But as far as Disney's concerned, I'm a white male. And that's not who they're looking to promote at the moment.
As a white guy, even Michael has his own doubts about the possibility for advancement for himself at Disney. In fact, Michael actually got to experience Disney's discrimination against white males firsthand.
I've been at the company 11 years now, so I have friends in HR and I have friends in those divisions, and they're like, look, nobody else is going to tell you this, Mike, but they're not considering any white males for the shop. They're just not. That's not what they want.
They even passed over a qualified half-black person for a promotion because they didn't look black enough.
We wanted to hire somebody in the department a few years ago now, who was half black, but didn't appear half black. And
You mean like former President Barack Hussein Obama?
there was a creative executive who was like, we're not, that's not what's wrong. They wanted somebody in meetings who would appear a certain way, and he wasn't gonna bring that to the meeting. I mean, it kind of feels like we're, at some point there's going to be a lawsuit. That's kind of how it feels, just because of,
And that is a lawyer talking. So how does Disney explain pushing these discriminatory practices? They use code words and buzzwords.
I'm guessing that there's acceptable code words and buzzwords that are used to explain what they're looking for. They might say something like, look, we're not looking at the usual suspects for this job. So it's not a legally actionable thing. But everybody knows.
I wonder if this applies to shit.
What it means.
Oh, if you're doing what are you doing? If you go to a job interview and they say that, these keywords, what are you supposed to do? Especially if you already know them. Not necessarily just at Disney, because this is countrywide.
They, for writers and actors, you hear all the time, looking to hire writers and actors who bring diversity. I'm not looking to bring on any more clients who are white.
Welcome
Let's
to
not
the Disney
forget the
Tapes. My
Disney
name is
scandal.
James O'Keefe, standing here in Burbank, California, outside Disney corporate headquarters. This is our first part in a series about blatant discrimination and woke policies at the Walt Disney Company. To say that the Disney Company has had a tumultuous 5 years, well, that would be an understatement. Major box office flops, a losing battle with the state of Florida, and a stock that is one of the worst performers on Wall Street, and as
let's
you'll
not
probably
forget,
conclude
guys,
from
Disney has ties to the royal family. Remember that.
this
Little
report,
secret.
as well as recent shareholder rumblings, almost all of Disney's recent failings are as a result of Bob Iger and the cast of characters here at Disney that are trying to force woke DEI policies into every aspect of Disney's vast media empire. What used to be a highly profitable company by being the gold standard of family entertainment has taken a sharp downturn in the wake of all of its wokeness. Under CEO Bob Iger's leadership, Disney's downfall likely started with the insane hiring practices amongst its executives and creative teams. One of their top senior vice presidents claims that they not only discriminate against white men, when recruiting and hiring middle management, they actually give bonuses for...
Here's a little known secret. The Army will tell you this doesn't happen. But when you're going up for the higher ranks and the enlisted, such as the E7s, E8s, E9s, you put your records up a bunch of sergeant majors, and they look at your records. And guess what? One of the first things they do, they divide it by race. And automatic eliminations by that. Little known secret.
for hiring and
What's
retaining
up, Laura?
employees that are specifically not white. According to these videotapes, Disney blatantly discriminates against whites, white men in particular. Not a week goes by without a news headline about potential medical supply shortages, threats to our infrastructure for the next based only while this is a medical device order wellness T today.
Yeah.
Is code OMG.
You know, we have a diversity, equity, and inclusion department who's very involved in like setting standards to make sure that our shows have diversity.
Do you think like Bob has a say in the diversity stuff when they're casting people? Like
100%.
To what?
He gives the directive. I mean,
for each show, for each.
No, an old white guy. Hey, we need to stop hiring white males. Okay.
You know, hey, I want every show to have substantial diversity.
Iger even has a chief diversity officer. Now, up until recently, that was Latondra Newton, who played a big part in dragging Disney full bore into its losing culture war by promoting discriminatory hiring practices and introducing gay, lesbian, transgender, non-binary, and other characters into Disney's children's animated series and films.
Is it like an all-across thing, like all of HR, or there's like that one specific person that kind of like...
Oh.
Because
I don't know if Disney's the one that makes Lilo and Stitch. They're gonna do a live action with Lilo and Stitch, and the girl they hired for Nani was a perfect fit. But they were like, well, she's not dark enough. Like, bitch, she's actually that race of Nani. What the fuck?
I forgot the lady's name. She's the head of the...
Oh, I know you're talking about the head of the diversity,
the African-American lady, yeah. So is that like kind of her deciding
She
that?
oversees a lot of that.
My daughter, youngest daughter, who's actually an adult now, she has a cat and she likes to watch wrestling as of lately. And she named her cat Meowkintyre. Wyatt Meowkintyre. One because of Bray Wyatt, and one for Drew McIntyre. Came up with that name all by herself.
That for sure. But it's pretty broad, I would say. There are other people in HR who are also focused on that. I would say a relatively large percentage of our top writer creators happen to be gay. And a lot of...
Just by happenstance.
I mean, like, just like if you say whatever, I don't know, whatever, 10 or 15% of the population is gay, I would guess that 30 to 35% of our top writers are gay. And so I think a lot of them lean into trans stories more than the average straight writer would.
And in an odd twist, you have to be a white Jewish guy to be considered for a C-suite job. More on that next week. But now, let's meet Los Angeles-based Michael Giordano, a white male and Walt Disney Senior Vice President of Business Affairs.
I do like business affairs, so like negotiations for television.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Yeah. Nice, that's really cool.
I just thought like the majority of the people that watch me, no, I mean, don't get mad, but you're white. Yet you have somebody that's not white showing you that white people really are being discriminated by the big companies. And I will be considered systemically white because of my race. Oh, yeah. Asians and Pacific Islanders are systemically white. It's true. I went over a story about that a couple years ago. Even though,
so a lot of it is...
as a Pacific Islander, I make up 0.08% of the population.
Like knowing like the guild agreements and the union agreements and everything, like make offers for the writers and the actors who are going to be out working on the show and the producers and the directors and try to get to a place where we can be able to deal with them, help the production to budget. And so much of my job is just the negotiating, really. And then other people are doing kind of the contracts. So,
oh wow! So yeah, what's the negotiating like?
I'm like sitting down trying to figure out, okay,
not yet, Eloy. But with the amount of illegal immigrants coming across the border, give it time. Give it time.
For this role, what do we think they want? What
Oh wow!
Kind of strategize that. Everything from how you produce a show, how you distribute a show, how you exhibit a show, how you market a show, things like that. All of the negotiations and deal making that like related to it.
Yeah.
One, well, actually two of our brave undercover journalist and American Swiper investigative reporters met Michael on the dating app Hinge. And aside from this story, which focused on Disney's overt discrimination against white men, you'll see later on in this report, and it'll be quite entertaining, Michael turns out to be quite the ladies' man.
How long have you been on like dating out?
Not very long. 2.5.
Have you been going out with
Not a lot. Not a lot.
anything like for it?
You know what's funny? No.
Let's dig right into Disney's blatant practices of discrimination. If you're wondering how Disney as a company looks at race, gender, and discrimination in the hiring process, about how they recruit and hire talent, look no further.
I think there are times when it's like so front and center. It's like great because that's the focus, you know. Like we have so many shows where we're casting and we're like, yeah, we're not even going to see, you know, certain people for it because we need that particular role to.
Yeah.
So
is it intentional that they want like they only?
Not necessarily on Disney, but maybe ABC.
They look for diverse candidates for certain roles.
Yeah. I think there's certainly a belief that it's just good for society and big goal. But there's also a belief that, like, we're going to make more money if we appeal to a wider variety of people. And it's a good thing.
They want to divide people. Remember, one of the things I say, there's no profit in unity. No profit. But if you divide the people, you can profit. Even though Disney is not making money. They're losing money. So obviously they need to rethink their strategy because it's not working.
We have shareholders too, you know, and so diversity helps with that.
Diversity helps with financial incentive.
Yeah.
So is it like, do you think it's more so on that side, or are you using like any good prices gets put to use, or
regardless? I think regardless, but I think that there are like even conservative people who may not want to lean into it can easily make the argument that like we make more money when we appeal to a wider variety of people, and that means diversity.
Yeah.
There's a real focus on every show. And I'm sure the movies too, though I don't deal with that side of it. So, you know, just making sure that the writer's room has a real, you know, diversity.
Oh, I just realized something, guys. Just my show alone, with me hosting it. God damn it. Shit was making me look black. Yeah, I'm pretty diverse myself. I got Egyptian blood, a lot of Norwegian and Scottish and Filipino. So I'm pretty fucking diverse. Disney needs to hire me. Survivor is on ABC, right? Let me host that shit. Let Probst take a season off. Come on in, guys. Welcome to the beach. Why the fuck are you crying, bitch? We just started the game. You know what? No immunity for you. You're on the chopping block.
You know, not just gender or sexual orientation and ethnicity, but, you know, making sure that they're hiring some writers who they have certain disabilities where they wouldn't have been hiring before. Or, you know, since there's kind of a really broad look whenever we're doing that to make sure that everybody gets.
Yeah.
So they talk a big game about DEI, but do they actually do it? Apparently so. They even passed over a qualified half-black person for a promotion because they didn't look black enough.
Yeah.
We had a situation
where girls that were lighter than me. They were black.
Where we wanted to hire somebody in the department a few years ago now, who was half black, but didn't like appear half black. And there was a creative executive who was like, "We're not like that's not what we want." Like
they wanted the full
they wanted somebody in meetings who would appear a certain way, and he wasn't gonna bring that to the meeting.
And so this is like on the
This was on the
corporate side, like the business side.
Never understood that. Is it like, 'cause I know a lot of, like, I have like a lot of black friends who like are not as dark as, like, you know. So do they care about
Look at
that,
Sicilian, they're
or
pretty
like
dark.
the
Funny you ask.
ethnicity actually?
They say they don't care about it, but the truth is, to some extent, they do. If you're mixed, but you don't look black at all, which sometimes happens,
Yeah.
then they're like, oh, I'm not so sure. But if you're mixed and you can tell somebody's part black, but they're not like that black, so okay, that was still, it's crazy.
But apparently, Meghan Markle is black enough? You can't make this up.
So would like Meghan Markle, who's pretty white,
Isn't she like a quarter black?
Yeah.
would she be considered
She would still
like,
be, yeah.
diverse?
She
Or,
would, yeah.
or
Huh? As a white guy, even Michael has his own doubts about the possibility for advancement for himself at Disney, saying, quote, "As far as Disney is concerned, I'm a white male."
Right now, I'm like a half step below a department head.
Are you
I have a
straight?
team under me, but I don't oversee a whole department. And I'd like to oversee a whole department, whether that's at Disney or having to leave. So,
Okay. Do you think that you'll have the opportunity at Disney?
Not after this.
I'm not sure, to be honest with you. I think I'm sort of like well prepared for it. I'm well positioned for it. But as far as Disney's concerned, I'm a white male, and that's not who they're looking to promote at the moment.
In fact, Michael actually got to experience Disney's discrimination against white males firsthand.
So,
Oh, do you think that has a lot to do with it?
I don't know about a lot, but it's something to do with it.
Really?
Yeah.
What do you think the competition is?
Oh, I mean, I've been up for jobs internally against people who have less experience than me, and haven't gotten.
Okay. And they were given to somebody else. Do you think it had something to do with their...
In one or two cases, I was told very explicitly that it did. Yeah.
Explicitly how? What did they tell you?
I mean,
Anybody in chat had an issue with diversity hiring because of your race? Sometimes I know it's not blatant, but it's out there. But I'm just curious if anybody even had a thought like that during an interview or something like that.
I've been at the company 11 years now, so I have friends in HR and I have friends in those divisions, and they're like, look, nobody else is going to tell you this, Mike, but they're not considering any white males for a shot. They're just not. That's not where they're lying.
And so it's probably fair that Disney would say, we don't want a white person
seen that,
to
Eli?
play this role.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're very careful about...
Was it blatant or was it like...
They're very careful about messaging because they don't want to get too much discrimination in either direction. But certainly there have been times where, there's no way we're hiring a white male person.
Just kind of unspoken.
There are times when it's spoken, but...
How would they say it?
There's no way we're hiring a white male person. They'd say
Like straight to you? Or okay.
They'd be very careful how they message that to agents.
In like email or whatever.
After getting a dose of Disney's discrimination himself,
They fought
it seems
years
like
to fight against discrimination. But now it's okay. As long as it's, against white people. Which I found weird because apparently you can't be racist if you're not white. That's a lie. I've met a lot of racist people of all races and ethnicities, and the most racist people out there are Koreans.
like Michael may have been hit with a reality check that discrimination against people based upon race is probably not cool.
I mean, it kind of feels like at some point there's going to be a lawsuit. That's kind of how it feels, just because of,
And that is a lawyer talking. Now, could it get worse?
Random story, since I'm losing viewers. When I say I've experienced a lot of stuff most people wouldn't have, Back on August 12th of 2002, they were having huge protests in South Korea because of 2 young girls that got run over by a military vehicle and died. So the whole country was fucking pissed. Well, I'm coming from one camp to another, and we can't get in the gate because they're blocking the gate. So we're like, fuck, what are we going to do? The motherfucking bus driver let us out 500 meters from the gate. I'm 20 years old. Totally different from the person I am today. I've been through a protest where they fucking hate Americans. They will spit on you, punch on you. You can't touch them because of the status of forces agreement. You hit them, you have a possibility of doing Korean time.
Actually does.
So I've been
Not
through
only
some
does
shit.
Disney discriminate against white men, it gives management bonuses to hire DEI candidates over white men, totally disregarding their level of qualification, as long as they're not white. You heard me correctly. A part of some executives' compensation package is based on hiring and retaining black hires. We saw this in the case of IBM. America First Legal has launched a lawsuit, many people coming out of the woodwork from IBM, from these Fortune 500 companies, all saying they've experienced this.
I didn't do that one
to
because I don't
hear
think he would have
from
been
people
interested.
inside Disney who've made these claims. Many people here in Los Angeles, here in Hollywood, very afraid of Disney, very afraid of retaliation
What's up,
against
pullover?
their creative productions or movies or films or jobs for speaking about this truth. But if you have been a victim of discrimination, please reach out to OMG or Citizen Journalism Foundation, and we will try to get you representation to get your rights back. I've had it with all my personal and private information being exposed and exploited. New phone.
I mean, HR keeps
Unplugged.
I'd almost want that phone, but if I send secure messages to my family members who don't have that phone, then what's the purpose? You know what I mean?
OMG.
I mean, HR keeps a huge spreadsheet. Yeah.
What kind of spreadsheet?
Oh, I mean, I haven't seen it exactly, but I mean, literally, like, you know, they have stats. 17% of our executives at this level identify as XYZ.
Is that a new gender?
40% of our executives at this level identify as, you know, they have goals that they're trying to. They want a certain percentage of diversity here, a certain percentage of diversity there.
But are these these are open goals? Because you're saying they can't say it in such specific terms. So are they open goals?
No, does this go the same for like Disneyland and Disney
So
World?
how does Disney explain
Do they
pushing
discriminate
these
on hiring?
discriminatory practices to the people that they work with? Well, according to Michael Giordano, it seems like it's a sensitive issue, and they use code words and buzzwords.
I'm guessing that there is a acceptable code words and buzzwords that are used to explain what they're looking for. They might say something like, you know, look, we're not looking at like the usual suspects for this job. You know? So it's like not like a legally actionable thing. But everybody knows what it means.
According to Michael, even Disney's human resources agencies are on board with these practices. Hi, guys, do you know what the code words are for the discriminatory hiring practices? Do you work in HR? No? You familiar with the buzzwords?
One guy does talk.
They don't know what I'm talking about now.
Halfway.
But they will soon.
They, you know, the writers and actors will hear all the time, like, you know, I'm looking to hire writers and actors who bring diversity. I'm not looking to bring on any more clients who are like you know, so there's definitely that focus.
Disney even has an internal organization such as 20th Action Group, whose sole purpose is to promote discriminatory DEI hiring practices and to push bizarre characters and storylines on children. The question is, can the people just come to work, make their cartoons, and do the discrimination elsewhere? But apparently not on CEO Bob Iger's watch. So how is prioritizing these DEI practices over hiring merit-based talent worked out for Disney shareholders, you might ask? Well, over the past 5 years, the S&P index is up over 88%, and Disney is down almost 30%, making that once golden brand one of Wall Street's biggest disappointments. Yes, the disaster that Disney has become is probably the most glaring example of what happens when you prioritize DEI over talent content creators and executives who truly know how to build value. So will Disney turn it all around and hire or promote based upon merit? We shall see. Do you guys work there? You wanted to talk to us?
Well, he talks in a minute.
Everything okay?
No.
Yo, and I'm watching this. Some of these guys really would love to talk about it off camera. That should make you think.
Okay, do you want to share anything with me or anything?
Do I want to share something with you?
Yeah, just...
There's a massive story coming out inside your company.
So very careful about messaging because they don't want to get to discrimination in either direction. But certainly there have been times where, you know, there's no way we're hiring a white male person.
Just kind of unspoken.
There are times when it's spoken, but
how would they say it?
There's no way we're hiring a white male person.
We're doing a story about Disney's discrimination against people on the basis of race.
So tell me about you.
What's that?
Tell me about you.
Tell me about me?
This guy's got a real
What do you want to
beard,
know?
so he's
What about the story?
More about the story about me.
You.
Hi, guys. Do you know what the code words are for the discriminatory hiring practices? Do you work in HR? Can we speak with the CEO?
No, unfortunately, I cannot.
How do you know?
Because he usually does appointments only.
He might want to take this meeting.
All right, I'd advise you to contact him through emailing or online, but I can't really let you guys in right now. I'm sorry.
You can't let us in. You want to know about me or about the story?
Let's hear about you.
About me? My name's James.
Hey, James. I'm Matthew.
Matthew, nice to see you. Yeah. Have you heard of James O'Keefe or O'Keefe Media?
Is that you?
Yeah.
I haven't.
No? We do the investigative undercover videos and exposing all the big companies.
What media company are you guys with?
I don't know. Would it make a difference?
Just out of curiosity.
Is it a curious? Did they tell you to ask that question?
I'd like to know.
Just you
You
personally?
don't
Just you
Young
personally?
Turks.
Yeah.
Tell them you're Young
personally
Turks.
want to know. Do you work for Disney?
Yeah.
Oh. Have you heard of OMG, James O'Keefe?
No.
We'll reach out via email and we'll try to come back when we get the appointment.
Okay, yeah, that'd be the way to go.
Okay.
I will take the vision.
Okay. We'll be back. We'll be back on Friday.
What is your affiliation? Are you guys with like Project Veritas or anything?
I'm the founder.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'm James O'Keefe.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
O'Keefe Media. Yeah.
Okay.
Do you familiar with that?
I am a little bit familiar with that, yeah.
Oh, wow. What do you think about that?
Well, I can't really share my own personal
You can't share.
opinion,
They don't give you a First Amendment at Disney?
Well, you know, I'm on the clock still, you know, so if we want to talk after, that's fine too, but...
Okay.
Yeah, let me get
Would they
touch
fire you if they... I guess they'd fire you if you said you were a fan of mine.
I don't know.
Check in BlackRock.
BlackRock, we did that last year.
Check in?
Yeah, check it out. Thank you. Some people are rather nice. If you wanted me to check out BlackRock,
Mistake.
maybe we have
Sure,
fans
Disney.
inside
Give me a
Disney,
second.
right?
Let's see if I pull this up. While he's going into the next story, let me pull it up because I know I looked into the BlackRock.
You know, we haven't had a lot of them. Sorry again that I was 2 minutes late.
All good. You don't care if my girlfriend comes to pick up my K-pop, right?
No, of course.
Okay. Oh, hey, babe. Hey.
Hi.
Do you guys know each other?
Yes?
Wait, do you guys know each other?
Yes.
Are you guys on a date?
We are.
Oh, wow. You told me you had a tickle in your throat.
I did.
As of last year, because this is what they've got, BlackRock owns 120 million shares of Walt Disney stock. Granted, it's only 6.6%, but that's one of the many things BlackRock owns.
Is this how you call it? Going out with my friends? Wait.
Hi. Is your name Michael Giordano?
Maybe.
Do you work for Disney?
Maybe. I'm not gonna.
Is this you right here?
I'm not.
So, so you are the vice president of the Walt Disney Company.
Please come back.
And you're on tape saying that you don't hire white males.
Hug it out.
No way we're hiring a white male.
There's no way we're hiring a white male, Mitchell.
Sir, are you the vice president of Disney? Do you know about Title VII of the Civil Rights Act? About discriminating against people based upon religion and race, sir? Quote, I'm not looking to bring on any more clients who are white, you know.
I hear all the time, like, I'm looking to hire writers and actors who bring diversity. I'm not looking to bring on any more clients who are white.
Disney is concerned I'm a white male. I have friends in HR. Mike, who are your friends in HR?
As far as Disney's concerned, I'm a white male, and that's not who they're looking to promote at the moment. I have friends in HR, and I have friends in those divisions.
Do you think that being quiet is going to help you?
You don't have authority to put me on tape. Goodbye.
I will put you on tape, and I do have that authority under the First Amendment. You know, just because you work in Hollywood doesn't give you entitlement to discriminate against people on the basis of race. Michael Giordano. Sir, he's got the Tesla.
All kinds of breaking law.
See if we can catch up to him. Hi, Michael. Watch out. Watch out. Hi, Michael. Discrimination on the basis of race. Title VII of the Civil Rights Act. Look at his face. Look at his face. I believe it's I always get my exercise with these guys. Whew. Oh, man. Now, he was out of there on the New York Minute. We confronted him and he drove away in his Tesla. Very upset. The two girls confronting him at the same time. Apparently he lied and told one girl that he has a little itch in his throat. We have someone gesturing. Let's see what happened. This guy works for Disney and he was discriminating against people in the hiring process. And he was on a date, but it wasn't a date. It was an undercover person with a hidden camera. The vice president of Disney sat right next to you.
He's the vice president of Disney?
You bet, yeah.
What's his name?
His name is Mike Giordano.
And so that was like a fake date?
That was a fake date.
And who was the girl? His girlfriend?
There were actually two girls. One girl confronted the other because he was lying to one of the girls about the girls he was dating. Oh, wow. So it was a whole... Oh, that was a real thing. That was a real undercover investigation right there. That was not a real girlfriend. There were two girls, and the other girl made an excuse, and then they showed up and confronted him. And
wait, and so that girl was here on a date with him, and it was like a setup to get him here?
Yeah.
Wow.
Not a week goes by without a news headline about potential medical supply shortages, threats to our infrastructure or power grid. And you remember what they pulled during the last pandemic. Certain medications were mysterious and predictable world. It's all about, and supporters at the Wellness Company have designed this unique prescription-based medical emergency kit that is packed with 8 potentially life-saving prescription-only medications, including Z-Pak and ivermectin, which I used myself while out on the road and starting to feel a bit under the weather. Health is everything, and this is a great opportunity to order a Wellness Company Medical Emergency Kit. The Wellness Company Medical Emergency Kit stands ready to treat over 30 common ailments, ensuring you'll have access to vital medications when you need them most. And now save $45 per kit when you order using the code OMG. Get ready to write this down. Get your Wellness Company Medical Emergency Kit at twc.health/OMG. That's twc.health/OMG. That's twc.health/OMG. And save $45 per kit today when you use code OMG.
Y'all working hard.
Working really hard in Hollywood, exposing it, yeah.
Okay.
Do you guys work in Hollywood?
Kinda.
Really? Okay, you probably shouldn't tell me because I'll...
Yeah, have a good one.
If there's any fraud you're committing, just be careful, okay?
Y'all are sick.
Underage?
Yeah.
That's not a bad idea for the next sting, right?
Saving the city.
Saving the city of Hollywood, one at a time. Check it out.
Yes. Have a good one.
OMG, O'Keefe Media Group.
OMG, okay.
OMG.
Okay. Check it out.
Check it out. All right. Saving the city, you heard it here in...
It's not quite like in breach there. You're not going to see a CFO.
And finance director. I don't think James is done. I think he's working his way up that ladder.
Unless you are a white Jewish man, well, you're likely never going to see Disney's C-suite.
She's like Asian and Hispanic.
Haitian.
Haitian, Hispanic, mixed. She just left Disney like a month ago. She left because she didn't really have, she's a woman, she didn't really have either of her bosses in her corner.
Okay.
And she quit saying that she just was like, I was just not feeling right. So I feel, and that being said, that the department heads are two Jewish men. Not that I have anything against this man, just saying that she, being of color, felt that and she quit. Because she just said that I can't seem to like him.
The very well qualified Haitian Hispanic woman who had rapidly worked her way up the Disney ladder left the company, acknowledging that she likely had no future there, oddly enough, because she wasn't white, Jewish, or man enough.
So maybe there's this juxtaposition between corporations, especially in entertainment, that say, you know, we want diversity and all these things, but then in reality,
but it's a number. Like, you know, like I've done those reports for diversity inclusion. They make us do every year, saying, okay, like look at the shows, tell us the diverse cast, all crew members are in there. So you've seen number can't go up. I'm like, yes, it's gone up, but I feel like that's like a forced metric.
Does every department have diversity spreadsheets? I'm seeing a pattern here, and that is from Disney's hiring practices.
what about like the LGBTQ? I want to see them do it more in like the kids shows.
That'd be great, yeah. It's the way the world is. You can't like pretend it doesn't exist, right?
Yeah.
And say like, oh, we're just going to show like one section of society, that's all the world is. The world is like...
You can actually make movies with LGBT actors without, you know, alluding to that in the movies. Did you know that? They could play straight characters too. They do it all the time. Oh, wrong fucking screen.
Right.
And that should be on screen.
So, Disney's philosophy is that you're never too young to learn about the LGBTQ agenda.
Do you think Bob Iger is corrupt?
Well, that started a conversation. That definitely started a conversation a couple weeks ago, and yeah, I felt a certain type of way because you can support them, shouldn't push it until they're old enough. But that's my opinion.
Now he just wants to stay in power.
He, like many, believe Bob Iger is corrupt. And if you look at the recent filings of Disney shareholder Nelson Peltz, it seems others carry the same sentiment. Last week on the Disney tapes, we met Mike Giordano, an attorney and senior vice president at the Walt Disney Company, who made it very clear that Disney promotes blatant discriminatory hiring practices. So much so that he actually expects lawsuits against Disney.
It kind of feels like we're, at some point there's going to be a lawsuit. That's kind of how it feels, just because of,
On this episode, our second installment of the Disney tapes, we're going to delve even further into Disney's systematic discriminatory hiring practices to see just how far they will go to pander in the name of diversity, not only in hiring, but even how they
when you
aggressively...
think of discrimination, everybody automatically thinks it's against minorities. But there's a belief within that community that if you're white, you can't be discriminated against because you're white. That's untrue. If you're against any race, against hiring, that's not... I lost train of thought, guys. Fuck me. This is why I need to write shit down. But really can't because I'm speaking off the top of the head.
Race, gender, and LGBTQ programming at children, young children. And in an odd twist, one production executive claims that Disney CEO Bob Iger is corrupt and that Disney's discriminatory DEI hiring will only get you so far up the Disney corporate ladder. But if you wanted to get a top job in Disney's C-suite, you better be a white Jewish man. Now let's pick up where we left off last week. Remember Disney Senior Vice President Michael Giordano and his claims of blatant discrimination in Disney's hiring practices?
Certainly, there have been times where, there's no way we're hiring a white male person.
Just kind of unspoken.
There are times when it's spoken, but
how would they say it?
there's no way we're hiring a white male person. They, for writers and actors, we hear all the time, like, I'm looking to hire writers and actors who bring diversity, and I'm not looking to bring on any more clients who are white.
Now, let's meet Saurabh Macher, who also goes by the name Dave. Dave is the director of production finance at Walt Disney Television.
His name is Macher. Maker with 2 Ks. J-O. Fuck you guys.
Dave. Dave is the director of production finance at Walt Disney Television. He is intimately involved in Disney's production business behind the scenes.
I don't know if you heard of the show ABC Network?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, you're producing it. Okay. What is your role in
I'm
doing all of that?
Production finance executive.
Okay.
I'm involved with the actual production of the show.
Okay.
Looking at, my work starts with making the budget. That's my domain. Really, the budget for the show, that's my real work.
Okay.
Starting it.
Right.
So you work on the budget, you work with the different departments, and you kind of wrangle together a number and you give it to the network and say, is this okay with your target?
Mm-hmm.
If it is, then it's a green lit. You lock the budget, and you take it from there. Then we start with the other parts of my work, which is mostly active payments, leases, making sure they're on track with the different budgets for every episode, right? Because we lock the budget for one main pattern, what we call it, right? But each episode can go up and down if it's going to be. So you have to make sure that if it goes up, something comes down. So you kind of
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you're managing it in real time?
Yes, really managing the producer, executive producers, make sure they're on target with what the network and the platform does.
Yeah, very cool. Do you work at all with the people who are doing the content, just to kind of see what the creative side? Yeah,
we have to work with them, right?
Yeah.
There is no doubt that Disney discriminates against white men when they are hiring and choosing who gets promoted. We heard that from Michael last week in Disney Tapes Volume 1, and Saurabh confirms it here.
So maybe there's this juxtaposition between corporations, especially in entertainment, that say, we want diversity and all these things, but then in reality,
but it's a number. I've done those reports on diversity inclusion. They make us do every year, saying, ꀸꀗ tell us the diverse cast of crew members are in there. So you've seen the number count go up. I'm yes, it's gone up, but I feel that's a forced metric. There's also a slight glass ceiling for that. I feel it's not, there's a glass ceiling. It's not quite been breached yet. You're not going to see a CFO really for lack of a word, non-white, non-Jewish.
What's included in the diversity columns?
So they'll say is the cast diverse? They have a lead cast member who's of color. Do they have a cameraman, or do they have a director who's of color? So that way we're good. That I can say. I've seen a lot of directors, people who have color, getting opportunities. And as a writer,
I think that's why Marvel and Lucasfilms are failing so bad now. Because they're more worried about getting diverse cast, diverse crew, as opposed to the most well-qualified people. No, that doesn't happen. Not at all. Those films are great, and if you don't like them, you're a racist bigot, and you're transphobic, homophobic.
What? Michael, the senior vice president, also acknowledged Disney's diversity spreadsheets in last week's report. Does every department have diversity spreadsheets? I'm seeing a pattern here. And that is from Disney's hiring practices. Not a week goes by without a news headline about potential medical supply under the West Coast. The most into kids programming, young kids, and also hear firsthand why they would do such a thing. According to Disney Dave, it's a good idea to get younger kids introduced and educated on the ways of LGBTQ.
What about like the LGBTQ?
Yeah.
I want to see them do it more in like the kids' shows.
That'd be great, yeah.
Are you asking me on a date?
Your pulse and heartbeat have quickened.
No, it's the way the world is. You can't like pretend it doesn't exist, right?
Yeah.
And say like, oh, we're just gonna show like one section of society. That's all the world is. The world is like full of everybody.
Right.
And that should be on screen.
That's my little sib Blake and her girlfriend Ghibli.
Following in Mom's wake. Oh, nonsense. I'm just an architect.
It's important, I think, for me to see like, you know, the LGBTQ stories and like, especially for kids, so that they can understand all of that and you know, introduce it to them just so that they're comfortable and all this stuff. Like, do you think that Disney like makes that a priority?
I think they are. To extent, yeah.
Do you think it's authentic? Like,
not quite. Netflix does it better.
So, Disney's philosophy is that you're never too young to learn about the LGBTQ agenda. Apparently, even Dave thinks Disney has gone too far.
I thought about this the other day. Did you know June is Pride Month? But you know what else June is? Men's Mental Health Awareness Month. That's a very important subject matter as well. Because everybody expects, you know, well, let me rephrase that. Us more toxic masculine men, we tend to hold a lot of shit inside. And that's why we have tempers. And that's why we're violent, some of us. And, well, mental health for men is just blown off to the side. My 2 bits, my 2 cents, which was pointless because I'm pretty sure it takes more than 2 cents to make a penny.
The DEI thing in their programming. He talks about in one recent failed show, Debt and Other Details, where Disney tried so hard to push the DEI window that it totally tanked the show.
I feel like in our show we insert diversity when it's not really like organic to the story.
It
kind of stands out, like this just feels like a weird
orchestrated.
Yes, that's the word, orchestrated, right? Like we did a show called Debt and Other Details.
What's it called?
Debt and Other Details.
Okay.
It just came out a couple months back. Now it's a whodunit. The good star cast, supposedly. The main lead was a really big actor. He is a really big actor.
Okay.
It flopped. The audience didn't connect.
According to Dave, the cause and failure of one of Disney's many flops was again attributed to trying to force DEI into programming where it was not only out of place, it was highly inauthentic.
It happens,
yeah.
But you know, if you did the analysis, the post-mortem of it, you're just like, why? Because the story, they just tried to feed in so much diversity and they took away from what could be authentic. It just didn't feel authentic.
Yeah.
Characters felt like, they're trying to box. Like, there's one lesbian character there, there's one like African American, there's one Indian, there's one Chinese, there's one this, but it just felt like these people would never be together in that setting. You know what I'm saying?
Wouldn't you have liked to be a fly on the wall in that meeting, just watching the guy with the DEI checklist? Chinese, check. African American, check. Lesbian, check. Indian, check.
Yes. It's just like, it doesn't feel authentic. I'm like, that's the word you guys missing. Authenticity, you know, like, when you're doing a show, it's gotta feel real. It's gotta feel like, wow, this is like, the way it is.
Really? At what point do they realize that DEI just isn't working? For the audience or for the shareholders? On top of all of this, Disney executive Dave even tells our undercover journalist how he feels Elon Musk doesn't believe in free speech and is only out there to seek attention.
Something that was like, you know, obviously there's all this drama with Bob Iger and Elon Musk and like all this stuff, and like I was reading something because, you know, people have come down on Disney.
He does stuff for like publicity.
Okay.
But it works for him. Absolutely. I don't think what he says literally. Like Elon believes this.
Do you think he actually believes in free speech?
No. He does. Alright, so his biggest thing was I want free speech, right?
Right.
People joined Twitter and started impersonating him. He blocked those people from Twitter. Now,
How dare they?
How's that free speech? Right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, you're the owner, you can make up rules as you go. Like, free speech means anything. It's free speech. If I want to impersonate you, I should be allowed. Right? That's your whole speech, right?
Yeah.
Unfettered access to whatever you want to say.
What do you think Elon's motive is?
Attention.
Attention? You think he cares that much about attention?
He's a narcissist. All he cares about it. He's got a big ego. You feel into that. People like him love spotlight.
I mean, it's a capitalist world, so why don't we want to make money? You want to make money?
Elon Musk said that. That gives him energy. I've seen people like that. I know people like that. You know, like they love that energy. They thrive on it. They want that spotlight.
I've had it with all my personal and private information being exposed.
Oh, he did
Just
two ads.
Disney Dave tosses. Now let's get back to Disney's discriminatory hiring practices. Just when you thought there is no way Disney will hire you if you're a white man, Disney Dave tosses us a curveball. Imagine seeing this ad in the Help Wanted section. Job opening, Disney C-suite, must be a Jewish white man. Okay, so it isn't quite that overt. But let's say that you're lucky enough to get a job at Disney and you're setting your sights on going all the way up the corporate ladder. What's it going to take to get there? Again, by now, it has clearly been established that it's almost impossible to get hired and or promoted at Disney.
Makes you wonder why they have
I've been at the company for 11 years now, so I have friends in HR and I have friends in those divisions, and they're like, look, nobody else is going to tell you this, Mike, but they're not considering any white males for a shot.
Kanye was right.
They're just not. That's not what they're like.
And of course, we heard how Disney even bonuses executives for hiring non-whites.
There's literally like a percentage of my bonus at the end of the year is theoretically based on whether I have hired, supported, mentored people who bring diversity.
Whether you, what kind of mentor? What do you mean?
Like if I've done things to help further the careers of people who bring diversity.
Oh wow!
That's hiring them or helping them to get promoted or mentoring them.
That is until you apply for a job in Disney's coveted C-suite where their top executives hang out. Though Disney makes a big show of pushing diversity, equity, and inclusion across middle management and even in their casting and staffing of their productions, Dave Macker claims that Disney has a glass ceiling. When you get to the top, and you have to be a white Jewish man if you want a shot at making it into the C-suite.
It was really cool to hear that, that they take that into consideration, like, bringing in people from diverse backgrounds and that kind of thing.
There's also a slight glass ceiling for that. I feel like there's a glass ceiling. It's not quite like been breached yet. You're not going to see a CFO
definitely pull over.
For lack of a word, non-white, non-Jewish.
Especially when you realize they hold a lot of companies under them.
The tech industry is run by Indians, and the entertainment business is run by white Jewish men. And that unless you are a white Jewish man, well, you're likely never going to see Disney's C-suite.
In tech, everybody's like brown. All the CEOs are like, all tech companies mostly Indian. You look at it now.
So you think that they wouldn't hire a C-suite who's not white or not Jewish?
In entertainment, no. That is, but it's not just us. It's like every studio you look at, you'll find Indians pretty much higher there. You find like the chief technology officer, he'll be Indian, obviously technology, right?
He even claims that a very well-qualified Haitian Hispanic woman who had rapidly worked her way up the Disney ladder left the company, acknowledging that she likely had no future there, oddly enough, because she wasn't white, Jewish, or man enough.
She was like Haitian and Hispanic.
Haitian?
Haitian.
So she was probably like
mixed. just left Disney like a month ago. She left because she didn't really have, she's a woman, she didn't really have either of her bosses in her corner.
Okay.
And she quit saying that she just was like, I was just not feeling right. So I feel, and that being said, that the department heads are two Jewish men. Not that I have anything against Jewish men, just saying that she, being of color, felt that and she quit. Because she just said that I can't seem to like him.
So having heard all of this, what do you think Dave thinks of Disney's CEO Bob Iger?
Do you think Bob Iger is corrupt?
Now, yes.
You're fired.
Now he just wants to stay in power. He came with a 2-year promise. In 2 years, I'll turn the company around and I'll get you a new CEO. He extended that 2026. He got rid of a few people who were like, who could have been against him. He got rid of her. Like one CFO, Christine McCarthy. She was the CFO of Disney. He got rid of her. That's why I felt like, okay, I see this. Like he's removing any potential threat. She could have been CEO.
Yes, you heard that right. He, like many, believe Bob Iger is corrupt. And if you look at the recent filings of Disney shareholder Nelson Peltz, it seems others carry the same sentiment.
Do you think Bob Iger is corrupt?
Now, yes.
Why does Dave Mocker think that Bob Iger is corrupt? Is it because of his hiring practices, his insistence on pushing bizarre sexual and racial content on young kids, or how he uses his power and influence for political fundraising for far-left causes and leftist politicians? Who knows? One thing we know for sure, under Bob Iger's leadership, Disney, a once stellar and safe family brand, continues to rapidly circle the drain. Maybe Iger should spend more time on Disney's balance sheet and profit and loss statement, and less time checking the boxes on his DEI spreadsheet. So again, I will ask, will Bob Iger clean up his act and get the Mouse House whipped into shape, or will he continue to play the part?
What do y'all think? Do you think DEI hiring is wrong? Because I'm telling you, I do. You should be hired on your qualifications and your qualifications alone. Well, minus passing a background check as well. But to say that I'm probably going to get hired over somebody because I have darker skin kind of makes it unfair. It's like a participation trophy. It's just sickening because even Eloy mentioned it. He's seen it. I've seen it. And if at least 2 people have seen that, that means more of us have. You can't have unity if you keep preaching we need diversity. Because the more diversity you get, the more it's separated into racist and race tribes. And nothing gets better. Nothing gets accomplished. Yes, they do as well, Matt. They mentioned that too. It's just, at what point is it going to change? Obviously, Bob Iger has made it to where he can stay in power for a couple more years. Is he trying to ruin Disney? Because he's doing a great job. But never forget, Disney is also tied to the royal family. At least for 25 years after Charles's youngest kid dies. So, that's it for Disney. I've got one more that people need to listen to. It's a story from the mouth of a victim. And it involves family members.
Letitia Lanier McKinney, and I am a survivor of sexual abuse, physical abuse, and emotional abuse, and I am an overcomer. My mother was a young mother. She left home early because she was running away from sexual abuse from her stepfather. In the midst of all that difficulty she was going through, she found a man who welcomed her in. Didn't know she was going from one heat to even more heat by marrying my father. She was 16, he was 18, and by the second year of marriage, they found out she was pregnant again. So my mother had already started being abused as a young girl, and she was convinced by my grandmother to stop the abuse from my father by aborting the baby. Now, my mother decides that she needed help, so my grandmother helped her by putting turpentine and sugar together to try to abort the baby. She had some complications during her pregnancy and thought that the baby would not make it, so she smoked with me. And because she smoked with me, I came 6 months early. Being born 6 months, I was underweight, very sickly, and I was a child that was hated from birth because my father beat my mother so bad when he found out she was pregnant, but it was his baby. While I was growing up, I was a very timid kid. I had a difficult time adjusting in life. My mother told me this story. She said when I was small and my father would call her name, she would feel me shaking in her belly, running up into her rib side because his voice gave me fear inside of her womb. So when I came out, I was a very scary kid and noise would bother me, and I had colic. I was screaming, and she had a difficult time even trying to get me, I guess, to get into this world comfortably. So my mom did her best to raise me, but while she's raising me, I grew up in an atmosphere of constant abuse. When I was 4 years old, that's when the sexual abuse began. I was playing with my sisters and my uncles who were fairly young, and I didn't realize it then. I just knew they were my uncles. And we were playing a game of hide and seek. My grandmother used to have this huge closet that had bags and bags of things in it. And while we were playing in there, I hid in there first. My other uncle was seeking us, but my sister was hiding somewhere else. So my younger uncle came in the closet because it was so large with me. And here's the thing. I had never been exposed to anything like this, but this scary moment was when I started feeling someone's hands go up my thighs, my little skinny thighs. And while they were going up my thighs, they were getting closer to my area. That scared me. When my other uncle came by the door, I heard this thump. And so he shook and he held back, pulled his hand away. And then I started thinking to myself, oh my God, I can't wait till this moment over. What is he doing to me? I'm like 4 years old. And he did all that he could. And then eventually, because my uncle could not find us hiding, we eventually got out and I was able to breathe. That moment got worse and worse and worse till as I was growing and I was progressing in life, my uncle started graduating from just touching me until he went full-fledged doing what he needed to do to satisfy himself sexually. This took time from the age of 4 all the way to the age of 12. In between time, I was never able to have and be raised in a healthy sexual environment because as a little girl, during that same little girl time, I had issues even with my sister who just was curious like little girls are. But because I had something a little different, I had a protruding navel, and my navel was kind of big, but it was unique. So my sister told me I was supposed to be a boy. So because of my navel, and I'm a little kid, I don't know that my navel is not a boy because I know my uncle's a boy, but I don't know, really and understand it. While this is going on, eventually, and I get to 12 years old, my uncle does something crazy and he gets locked up. And that's when God allowed me to start living my life. By that time, although they called me T-Bone because I was so skinny, 12 years old, I started gaining weight. And I think that I started eating just to suppress. And I know that God gave me that time and brief moment in my life where the abuse could stop. But you would think that that was all that was going on. During that season, my whole life rather, I also still was fighting off my father. So here was our life at home. Although no one knows I'm going through sexual abuse, I'm going through physical and emotional abuse. Not to me, but because it was being done to my mother. When I was 12 years old, I remember this so vividly when my uncle's last day having intercourse with his 12-year-old niece. By this time, I didn't realize the age difference, but he's 18 years old. My mother asked him to babysit us or take care of us, and he came over. No adult was there but him. He laid me down on my mother's bed. I'll never forget. Color of the blanket, the flowers, the curtains, the exact room I remember, the scent, something about the scent that if I smell anything like it today, it repulses me. But I remember when he tried to go inside of me, and the pain of it felt so brutal. And while he was doing what he was doing, I remember, this is too deep, Vaseline, okay? And he did what he had to do. And he kept slipping and was hurting, couldn't do what he had to do. And that was the most gruesome time because the pain never left me. The memory of that pain was actually eventually erected years later, but the memory of that pain sticks with me even today. He may have started like with a lot of fondling and all those other things, but those years, I can't remember exactly what he was doing to me, but I know that he used tactics of bribery. He would bribe me for candy, he would bribe me with money, he would take me to the candy store, and he was just that uncle that everyone loved. He was the favorite uncle. So I tried to stay consistently loving him because he taught me so many things with basketball, but he had a bad side to him, and I was the one that he chose to do what he needed to do to fulfill his own pleasures. I'm grateful that he went to jail and that time was allowed for me to start living. The funny thing about it is that I didn't fear him. I was crazy about him like all the other nieces and nephews because he had this way about him that he had charisma, he had class, he had abilities that I wanted to adapt. Back in the day, my mom had abuse happening to her, and she did not know how to protect her own daughters. She had a severe way of doing it. She would always check us physically. And that did a lot of damage to my older sister because who wants to be feeling like you're violated because your mom was checking to see if anybody's bothering you. So that alone, that fear of her physically checking my body for any abuse, that was her only method of trying to tell her children, ask her children, or because I remember my mom would ask, is anybody bothering you? But she didn't know how to really get to the bottom line. I believe that if my mom knew how to handle it, she could have prevented it, but she thought she was handling it her way. It was not effective. So I kept my mouth closed. I didn't know how to express what I was dealing with. And the insecurities in me began to really grow because I was holding this information. And that's why I began to gain weight and lost my sense of worth. She would lay us on the bathroom floor. I remember being 7 to 8 years old. My mother would tell me to open my legs. I don't understand how she was checking, but I felt so scared. I was shaking because I'm nervous, like, did I do something wrong? When a child is violated like myself, I now have desires and my body is asking for that touch, asking for that feeling again. But you don't understand it, so it makes you feel like a dirty little girl. I felt dirty when my mom's checking me because in my mind, I think I know what's going on with me, but she doesn't know, and I'm not going to tell her because I don't want to beat her. I don't want to get spanked. My mother was rough on us. Why? And I allow her to be rough on us physically, especially me, because I knew in my little head, I don't know how I thought like this, that if she released her pain on me, it was the same pain she wanted to release on my father. He was not an easy man to live with. It wasn't us. He loved us or seemed to love us, but he had a seemingly hatred for my mother. I think we were about 12 years old, and my father, for some reason, he just came with a bat in the house. And he started taking that bat and shattering everything. I heard something, and all I remember is us cleaning it up and the pain of us like wondering what went on. I still remember the way that a bat sounds on a human's body. It got quiet and we just started looking around the house, crying. I took my baby sisters and I put them in the room because it was so much glass. I wanted to protect them from getting hurt. There was one incident that I remember so vividly, and we lived on the 3rd floor, and my father, I don't know why he started again, but he started again. He had this thing where he felt as though he would be so drunk, he would call her, "You yellow bee, you no good for nothing." He would have this time where he would get in her ear and scream so loud, "You mother, blah, 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 blah." And she would just stand there and grip herself, and I'll be standing right beside them, daring him to act crazy. So one day I got some guts. I don't know how. Somehow we winded up in the hallway. I don't know how I got the strength, but when he was trying to hit my mother, he had an iron in his hand, and I know he smacked her one time with it. And so somehow we got to the hallway where it leads to outside, but we were on the 3rd floor. So I see he got the iron and he wants to hit my mother again. And I told my sister, we're going to grab the cord to the iron so we can pull his drunk behind down the stairs. So we do that. We grab the cord and we pull him down while he's trying to fight my mother with the iron, right? He falls downstairs. Somehow we get to the 2nd level to a lady who was a great woman. Like my father still trying to get at my mother. And the cord is like wrapped around all of us. And we just trying to really keep him and prevent him from hitting her, because he was so drunk where it didn't even make any sense. So I decide somehow, because my uncle taught me this, watch this, to put him in a headlock. So that means I had my hands in this position and I held tight. He swings his elbow and knocks me out cold. But while I'm knocked out cold, my hands were locked behind his head. And I was knocked out, and when they came to bring me to, my hands were still stuck together. There were so many people in the hallway. People were screaming, call the cops, checking on my mother, checking on me. But I'm done. I'm knocked out. And they had to pry my hands off of my father. The reason why I always stood between my mother is because I wanted to get the blunt so she wouldn't. He'd find any reason just to punch her. He'd find any reason just to smack her. He'd find any reason. And one thing that he had a good thing, I would say what he did was bad, but he was good at it.
I do a modified rear naked choke to where I'm not trying to cut off blood flow, but I'm fucking crushing his throat. So put the forearm right on the throat.
It was to break her from knowing who she will be. So imagine, if you're telling me I'm stupid all my life, I'm going to start living that way. I'm going to start not loving myself. I'm going to start adapting to what you think about me. But can you imagine your words that's falling on your wife is falling on your children too? I wanted to prevent her pain, and I tried everything in my power to do it. I did struggle in school. I even dealt with dyslexia, and I found ways to get through dyslexia. I found ways to get over that challenge. But I will tell you.
Hey, do you guys think maybe like ADD or ADHD at a young age could be caused by physical and emotional trauma? Because it teaches you how to disassociate, which I'm really good at. How many of you disassociate when you think about the past? I'm just curious, because I know I used to. My psychiatrist used to mention it all the time, especially when I would just go off into that 1,000-yard stare, which does exist, ladies and gentlemen. Because I could just stare and not know what I'm staring at, but I'm staring into space. But just a thought. Maybe I could be wrong, or it could be something small, but they won't study it. Just a thought, just an opinion.
This, to me, I was not a smart kid. And because we were going through so much at home, school was like whatever. I really feel like my school years, I just flowed through just because. And I did it because the norm did it. But I will tell you this, one thing my mother would keep in our heads is that all of you will graduate from college and you will graduate from high school. So we had to know that. But I did not work hard in school. I became comfortable with the music and art department. So I became popular in that area. But as far as academics, I struggled really hard. Math, I hated it. The funny thing about it, although I was not the smartest, God allowed me to be the first in all my family's history to go to college.
I get a lot of people that message me. I get it. Some of you don't want to type in chat because you think that people are gonna fucking start fighting and talking shit. I have met, maybe a handful of mods, but I delete shit myself. I have to monitor it, so it'll keep clean. So don't be afraid to chat here.
College. So I want to say thank God through all that I got there. Well, when I went to college, I didn't want to leave her. I was scared, and I would pray every day like, Lord, I would call her, check on her. Mommy, how's he doing? And one day, she called me, she said, T, guess what? Your dad quit drinking. And to me, I said, that don't matter. He's still who he is. And it took years for me to trust him. To the day he died, he still was, physically abusive, but it didn't matter. She thought it was a good thing, because I know that to her, at least that would be one component that she would have to deal with less. But she still had the emotional and sporadically the physical abuse. I'm now married. It's like 2006 I got married, and one day I went to go visit my mother, and they lived in this little tight apartment, which my mother was never used to, so she had a lot of things. So in this little apartment, I go to visit one day, and I see something's wrong, and I'm like, what's wrong in the atmosphere? Something's wrong. I asked Mommy, I said, Mommy, are you all right? And she had this skirt on, and I saw a bruise on her leg. I said, Mommy, why you got a bruise on your leg? They're like 60-something years old. I tell her immediately, get all of your things. You're coming to live with me and my husband, my children. And I waited and I waited and I dared him. I'm grown now. I don't care what she said, done, did. You are not to put your hands on her again. I took my mother away from that house for 4 years straight. I just got to breathe when my mother passed. My mom passed away during that time while they were separated. She passed away. And when she passed away, it was a hard thing for me because I no longer had the woman that I loved so much, but I was also glad that she was now free and that the Lord gave her a break from this earth. Her leaving me so early hurt, but I was more grateful that God cared for her enough to lay her to rest so that she can have an ending to that. So as she did that, that started to begin to free me. There was a time in my life where God moved me from the state of New Jersey to Tennessee. When I was younger, in college, I get a call that my uncle shot the pastor 8 times. The same uncle who raped and molested me as a child. And then I was told he shot the pastor 8 times
in the back
because he found out that the pastor had raped and molested my male cousin who was 11 years old when he did it. Now, I'm in college. I rush home because now it's affecting my mother's life in the church. When he shoots the pastor, everybody is now held responsible. So everyone blamed my family for that shooting. I went and I had a collapse. I said, how dare you shoot someone for the same thing you've been doing to me all my life. I didn't say it to him, but I went off on grandma because he was locked up by that time. I went off on mommy and I went off on everybody. And I told everybody everything that had been done to me since I was a 4-year-old child. I was so angry. I began to pour into people and just let them know and purge and scream and holler. And God had to send me through a transition. Throughout that transition, there was a couple times when my uncle came into my life. I had a cousin who planned for him to come because she did not believe that he did what he did to me because that was everybody's favorite uncle. So she decided right when he got out of jail from shooting the pastor 9 years later to bring him to my house. And I freaked out. It was a moment of this monster's in my house and I have a daughter. So I never tied in how young he was. But he was a monster to me since I was a little kid. And now he's in my house. So I had to go through a transition and a purging. And that same night when they left my house, I called my cousins and I told them everything that my uncle did to me. Immediately, my cousin calls my uncle and say, "You owe T an apology." Eventually, I get that apology and God starts the process of healing me. So I moved to Tennessee, and a year and a half later, I get a call from the same uncle. Now, mind you, whenever he needed something, I would send money. But I always prayed to the Lord for him to never to physically need to be in my home. So what I did was kept that prayer and always thought to say no. But this time, God didn't have me say no. Do you know when he asked to live with us in Tennessee and move from New Jersey, my husband had the longest talk with him and told him, "Listen, I have daughters and we're going to protect them. So if you have any intention to hurt my children, just keep in mind." So one day I found out that my uncle was not as old as I had created him to be in my mind. And once I found that out, I realized the severity that I had created in my head, and the monster I created in my head was not as big as it really was. And once God gave me that revelation, I was able to then go through my process of healing and being able to work towards forgiveness. That happened once we started sitting down and having conversations, and we began to work through the pain, and he gave me a true apology, bigger than I had ever expected. So my book, Generational Curses No More, was written following chronologically every detail of my life. And the reason why we had to do the book is because I know that there's so many people who need to hear that there can be victory on the other side. If you're going through problems, issues, abuse, anything of the sort, one thing I will say is that I kept God at the center of my life. And eventually, you will get through it. You do not have to stay in an abusive relationship. I know some people say that it's because of the children, but the problem with that, the children can be scarred based on your decision, even if the abuse is not happening to them physically. It's what's happening around them that affects them emotionally. So make better choices, and then do this one thing. Say, just because I was raised this way, I can change the trajectory of my children's future by making better decisions with what I do now, what I allow in my life. Children watches us, they watch us everything they do, and their intent is to protect, most importantly, their parents, their mom or dad, or mom and dad. They want to make certain you're safe. So you have to think about the children when you decide the individual you want to stay with. You can escape that, but you have to be willing to remember that every decision you make today has a consequence. So moving away from what harms you will help you get healing sooner. What helped me in that regard is that knowing that God still has my back, that no matter what I go through, he will protect me and guard me. Now, it did take me a lot to get to that healed moment, but if you pray for something and you do what is necessary, and one thing I remember is treating those who harm me with love. And I found out because I treated them with love and kindness, the word says, with loving kindness have I drawn thee. So God allowed the same individuals who were the biggest monsters in my life to be drawn to me so that I can reciprocate love. And in return, he gave them time to apologize so I can fully and freely forgive. Now, everyone's not going to have my story, but if you can release someone, forgiveness is not for them, it's for you. Because it's not always that you're going to have someone say, "Look, I'm sorry." Because everyone does not want to admit when they do wrong to others. But keep in mind, you want your help, your emotional, stable mind. You want things in order for you. So the more you do to press to heal you, even if they don't come through, the better it will be for you and your children. My life has made amazing turnarounds. God has done great things in my life. I'm now living my full purpose, and that is to help others to heal, help them to grow, help them to be all that God has called them to be. I am
4 to 12 years old. and they bring him to live with them years later. I don't know if I could do it. Actually, I know I couldn't do it. Because once I hold a grudge, and there's no going back. I know you're not supposed to hold grudges, but I'm not normal. I do hold grudges, and I hold them forever. Ask my parents. I don't care. If I feel you've done me or my family wrong, there will never be any hope ever again. Because I'm that stubborn. I protect my family. But it goes, like I said, it's always kids and vulnerable kids. This young lady had to endure not only sexual abuse from her uncles, but physical and emotional abuse from not just her uncles, but her own father. I remember being abused quite a bit. And I used to not admit it, but I don't care now. You have to take your history and mold it to where you've learned everything. You learn from mistakes. You learn for certain incidents. Because you can change. She was able to change and make a better life for her children that she didn't have. I make a better life for my children that I didn't have. I'm strict to a point, but I don't beat my kids. I don't have to. If you use the idea of disappointment, it gets them on a more emotional level. It 100% true. If they feel that I'm disappointed in them, it hurts them. And it makes them want to grow and get better. Admitting your faults and educating and changing. It can happen. Sometimes you revert back to the old person you used to be. Sometimes that's needed. But everybody knows me as that cool, laid back guy because that's who I really am. I have two different sides to me. You have the normal, cool, calm, relaxed guy that was always hidden but wasn't allowed to come out because of my profession. Now that part of me, it's crazy because when you think about it, with the old G.I. Joe, knowing is half the battle. I know, I've learned, I've got wisdom. But if you ever know what the other half of battle is, it's violence. Straight up violence. We taught that as a kid. Maybe that's why we have such a pussy-ass society where betas know they fucking suck at life and decide, oh, check this out. I can't get a real woman because I'm stupid, retarded, and fucking 97 years old. So let me go get these kids because they're young, impressionable, and I can just hit it and quit it. Family members who abuse kids for 8 years. 8 motherfucking years. Just that incident alone. When it's about, I'm done. Everybody knows my opinions on what we need to do. But I'm still going to be here for what I like to do, and I like to spread awareness. And I used to play plenty of these survivor stories, and my channel got taken down because of Pfizer. All because of one video on Pfizer. Twice. 2 different channels. That's why I'm hesitant to do Pfizer stuff now. But now I can. I just get a tag on my videos. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I'm not sure if I'm going to come back today, but tomorrow, definitely tomorrow night for the presidential debates. I'll be there. Hope you're there too. But I have a feeling that there's going to be different kinds of panels going on. What's up, Rockstar? Good to see you, man. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I'm not telling y'all how to think. Because if I did, that would make you sheep. Which I don't want sheep. I want individuals who can think. So I just ask for you to think. I lay down a baseline. You guys hear what I present. Form your own opinions. And even some people dive in deeper. Because they want to know more. But I made you think if you want to dive deeper. It's not about money, guys. It's about knowledge. And throughout my entire life, I realized knowledge really is the meaning of life.